All right, it is that time for me to declare us live as I do every single Wednesday night, including tonight for the Corales Puntacana Championship. I think this is the first time I've ever broken down this field because it's normally opposite of WGC, but we're here, we're ready. Myself, Ben Reza, here with Jason Rouslin. We got the crew, we got the chat. We are ready to roll, but it's Corales Puntacana, Jason.
So I made like a little bit of a joke, and it was no offense to Mr. Adam Shank here, but he was the cover boy of one of my articles of a golfer that, is playing pretty well and has done well here at Corales. But I didn't think that it would be playing for $200,000 at the same time, where I had Adam Shank as a cover boy. I thought maybe, we'd get $25,000 or whatever, but DraftKings puts up some pretty good contests, Ben, so it makes it worth it to dive in a little bit, doesn't it?
I was stunned at the contest. In the midst of football, coming off a major, I didn't think there would be room, and there was. So, hey, if they build it, we will come. So I'm ready to play. I'm registered. I'm playing more than I'm not playing full volume, but I was considering taking like pretty light to a borderline week off, and that's not the case. I really got invested. So I'm ready to break this down.
Yeah, me too. And I noticed that the $5 Drive the Green contest, it was $50K to start. That already filled. They put out a secondary. So people want Corales. Gotta love that. So let's dive in here, Ben. Let's start off with some waves, some weather, and withdrawal. It looks like it's going to be pretty beautiful down there in the Dominican. Not gonna lie, lightish wind. But listen, it's on the Caribbean Sea, right, Ben? So we're gonna have some wind.
Yeah, I mean, it's a resort course, which means there'll be some wind, but it's also a resort course, which means like
the fairways, you could hit the fairways.
Yeah, it's debatable, but possibly. It is very generous. We know that. A couple of guys have nothing crazy in terms of the withdrawals. The guys that are out are guys that I think no one was really expecting. Scheffler, I think. Sam Horsefield's still he's got COVID.
Yeah, he's got
right?
At least another week. I think for me, just to talk on Horsefield for a second, I feel really bad for him because he was going to get very little PGA Tour starts, right? I mean, just by the way it's working, he's doing good on the European Tour, but probably not good enough to earn those sponsors exemptions unless it's an alternate field event or supposed to be like this one. So gutted for him because I think he would have set up at least pretty well last week, and then an event where he wouldn't miss a fairway this week. Was definitely excited to see him go up against some of these kind of second-tier PGA Tour players to see how he measures up. But we're not going to get to do it, so we won't talk about him. But want to talk to you about 650 tomorrow morning. 650. Luke cannot make a putt list. Tees off first. He's going out with Adam Shank, who we just mentioned, and Matthew Neesmith. Just a couple of waves. Any interest in those three guys? And then you get the stars coming out like Connors, McDowell, and Stenson a little later.
Yeah, I mean, I think we already had a question about first-round leaders. List is going to be a popular guy. It's going to be on a lot of people's cards. I get it. You've got Connors and Stenson right at 7. Scrolling down, I don't know. I mean, I would say these aren't good groups, but some of these are like marquee groups. It's just there's no good players here. So you got your boy Will Z with Justin Sue, Kitayama and Chris Baker. That's a group I'll keep an eye on. I think those are two interesting names, but like everything, I tend to target the morning for first round leaders.
Yeah, me too. I just think they probably get a more clean golf course. I mean, past Fallon here, Seashore, I mean, it doesn't get as bumpy on the greens as POA does or anything like that. But did notice a couple of guys that I wanted to mention, especially for that first round lead. Now, let me ask you a quick question. You said about featured groups, right?
Sure.
Are you at a point where you would rather have seen Zalatoris instead of Graham McDowell, or do you really not care in terms of who you watch on PGA Tour Live?
I mean, I like to – it's not a huge deal for me, but I will say with someone like this Zalatoris guy, I would actually like to see him just because I don't know much about him. I'm looking at the stats. I'd like to watch him play, not to – bias myself, but just to get a little more information. Graham McDowell was also like, if I had to rank, I would rather watch pretty much anyone over him. No offense to the champ, but
yeah. Listen, I've been watching Charlie Hoffman, Graham McDowell, and Henrik Stenson for the last 20 years. I want to watch Zalatoris.
Exactly. Like get some, Jun Young Kim. I would love to see players like that. Just some newcomers, up and comers.
I think it's a great call on Joe Young, Tom Kim for Thomas the Tank Engine. Got that clarified this week. He actually said it in his interview that like he was super obsessed with Thomas the Tank Engine as a kid. So
that's pretty baller. I didn't know that.
You know, a father of a 2.5-year-old who's obsessed with it. It's a near and dear. So I'll make him in a lineup. He is actually min price on FanDuel, but we'll get to that in a little bit. See what's going on over there. Let's talk a little bit about Corales. We mentioned it's a seaside course. Fairways, I mean, they're so wide. It says the yardage is 7,600 yards, but that really comes from par threes, right? I mean, it's not a long course by any stretch.
I mean, it's just these guys are not – it's such generous fairways. They can take advantage at every turn. The distance is misleading. This is just an attackable par 72. Obviously, you're going to get the par fives. You want to hit it really long here, and you want to make putts. Like it's a hard combo to nail down, but you know what you want to do. You want to be aggressive off the tee, and you want to make a lot of putts because you're going to have a lot of birdie chances.
Yeah, that's for sure. So 70% fairways, like we said. Let's move on to Mounties, though. This is the first time I put on the topic of Mounties because we've got two Canadians as basically the odds favorite of the tournament, Ben. That has got to be the first time we have said that in maybe forever.
Yeah, it's absurd because, I mean, Mackenzie Hughes is rivaling Denny McCarthy these days.
Yeah, very close.
For super putting. And Connors is towards the class of this field. It just speaks to where we're at. So yeah, it's a big day for the Canadians. Hopefully, I mean, actually, I hope they don't win, but I'm sure they're rooting for themselves, and the Canadians in the audience may be rooting for their fellow countrymen.
Yeah, that's for sure. Obviously, we got a few more guys up here. Zalatoris is the leader up here. So as we talked last week on the show, Alex Osmo Baker, our guy, he said it was his top play. It was his favorite play of the slate, and he backed it up. He was 34% owned on Alex's player pool, his highest owned player. So I said, Alex, he's got to be your new favorite player, right? What do you have him at this week? And Alex gave me, so I thought I'd pass it along and see your thoughts on it. He said that he thought his salary to his odds to win was a little bit high, even given the field, and then he wasn't going to make it a priority to get this guy. So I take that as the way Alex plays, probably somewhere around 20% for owned for Alex. In your GPPs or even in your big dollar lineups, did you find yourself going to Zalatoris, or did you find yourself starting with Burns or your guy who I'm joining on with the train this week, Emiliano Grillo?
Yeah, I did not. I'm not playing Zalatoris.
Out.
No,
Okay.
Straight flat zero, goose egg. And it's not to say, like, when you say that, it immediately, and I get it, it immediately goes to like, well, this kid, he's got talent. He could be great. He could be amazing. I just don't think that it's reasonable to assume that he can go out and back that up. You're not asking him to make a cut. You're asking him to win. So exactly. He's a betting favorite. This field is pretty weak, but I would take Sam Burns over him. I bet Sam Burns over him in a head-to-head. I would rather start balanced. Team Grillo, obviously. Yeah,
Team Grillo, obviously. I think we'll get to that in a second. I want to just show up on Zalatoris real quick. The way that I kind of think about this is, in a year from now, if Zalatoris is a full-time PGA Tour member, which I fully suspect him to be.
He will be, yeah.
On the PGA Tour, I can't imagine. Again, he could prove me dead wrong. He's going to get 12 top 20s in a row, right? We just don't even see that from the best players in the world. Rory McIlroy did that before the COVID break. He was on an insane run. He's literally the only guy we've seen do it. You know, we see Rahm miss cuts. I shouldn't say cuts, miss a cut here and there. Justin Thomas miss a cut here and there. So what I say with Zalatoris is, in a year from now, if we take Will Gordon, Zalatoris, and Sam Burns, I'd say three of the younger guys in this field that have proven themselves to be pretty good players. I think they're probably all going to be relatively equal in a year, and here we are, have them separated by $2,800 in salary this week. So I think for me, I believe in this kid's upside, but we're asking a lot out of him to go out and be the 74th golfer in the world, not have any status, and be the odds favorite. It's just unheard of, and it's a lot of pressure on him. He's got plenty more starts. He's going to get a start at Shriners in a couple of weeks. He's obviously going to get another U.S. Open here in a couple of months, and I'm sure he'll secure at least one more sponsor exemption in this fall circuit. But he does have a lot riding. He needs a top three, and he gets on tour. So he is playing for something. Oh,
there's no doubt. And listen, it's just really tough to look at. You're not getting it. It's not like he's not going to be popular either. Like, this is full system go, as if we know he's a fantastic player. If a big time name was here, that's where they would be priced and that's where they would be owned. And that's what we're doing with Zalatoris. So it's just,
I thought it was going to be Stenson. Honestly, I mean, I know Stenson's not in form, but didn't you think when you saw the field, oh, it'll be Stenson at 10-9?
I certainly thought, he would be, Zalatoris would be maybe in the top 5 coming off that fantastic week. But I really did not think that he would be the highest price guy. I was pretty surprised, to be honest.
All right, let's go do some 2v2s here in this mid-9 section. I'm going to ask you some kind of 1v1s. If you like both of them, definitely say play both. But Charles Howell III and Emiliano Grillo. For me, Grillo's irons are so much better than Howell III's right now. Maybe not so much better, but definitely on an upward trend more so. He's not going to miss any fairways. So now it's only about, can he make more putts than Howell will to make up the difference in the strokes gain? And I think he does. I will go Grillo every time here. But I do have a couple lineups with them two starting off my lineup. How about you?
Howell has been putting great. He's lost on the approach in 4 straight events.
It's just not going to do it.
I don't think that's like I said, Charles Howell is an experienced player and he knows what he's doing. But I know that Grillo, tee to green, is, I think, not clearly, but he's probably the best in this field. Now his putter is broken. So, yeah. But I would go with Grillo in that toss-up every time.
You know what I noticed about Grillo, though, which is really good for this field? He hasn't lost over a stroke on average per round with his putter. I think it's like minus 0.8, minus 0.6, but he's not getting crushed. So that, I feel like his downside here is like top 15. There's no way he's missing this cut. I think even if he has one of those bad putting weeks, I still think he gets into the top 20 this week, which, for 9,800 first guy in the lineup, we definitely want it to be top 10. But again, I think he's probably the safest option on the board. Next down, Pat Perez and Christopher Ventura, 2 very different golfers, but a guy that bombs it and putts well. You kind of said that's the recipe, and that's leading me to Ventura. Is that where you're going, or you're fading both these guys?
No, I'm going to go with you there. Ventura is someone that pedigree-wise I think sets up well. We know what he can do in terms of off the tee. So this is, I think, a pretty good spot. Pat Perez, I have a little. I'm not saying I'm full fading him. Just don't know exactly where his game is at. So in a field like this, he certainly is towards the top when you just look at overall players. But I'm gonna go with Ventura on this one.
Okay, yeah, I think that one's close for me.
Closer, yeah.
Yeah, I would play both if I really thought that Grillo wasn't gonna top 10 or win this tournament, or even in my really aggressive plays where I'm betting money on Justin Sue or more we'll talk about in our hot takes. Like as we get even deeper down there, I've got some more guys. If I'm trying to get 3 in, I'll go Perez, Ventura, Grillo. I think that's fine. The other guys that we're leaving out, I'm gonna throw Stenson. I already talked about, and I'm gonna put him up against kind of your Euro Tour guy, Thomas Dietrich. You playing either? You playing both? You playing neither?
I'm playing Stenson.
Okay.
Not a ton. I think that Henrik Stenson's actually a pretty good bet. He's sitting like 40-1, and even though he's shown no form whatsoever, I don't worry about the ceiling. I worry more about the floor. Like if he's done, he's not going to play well. And then in an outright, it doesn't really matter, miss the cut, come in 12th, come in 8th. Whereas with DFS, of course, there's nuance to it. So I think you can back him blindly because he's Henrik Stenson in a field of this caliber. That's really my logic. And I will just at least have some exposure to him.
Yeah, and he said he had really not played because of where he was. It was weird. In the interview, he got asked, like, hey, man, why haven't you been playing that much? And he gave a pretty detailed response and said that his plan was always to come and play these fall circuit events because they're full point FedEx Cups, so he can really get a leg up on the season and probably take more time off as the season winds on. I want to mention that this week, the Awesemo PGA ownership projections are free.
Oh.
Normally a plus Awesemo Plus kind of thing there, but it allows us to talk about it a little bit this week. So we're going to just review very quickly the top ownerships of the guys we talked about. So Zalatoris coming in at 24%. Sam Burns coming in at 20%. I know it's crazy to me that odds favorite and now the basically going to be the highest owned guy. So kind of going to your fade, Ben, are you going to take advantage? Okay, let me ask a different way. You're going to fade him.
Yeah.
If he wins, are you going to place a to win bet on him or anything to hedge that? Or are you just going to straight fade and let's roll the dice?
No, straight fade. I would look to do that, but he is the betting favorite.
Yeah.
So I think he's a worse bet than DFS play, to be honest. I don't see it. Even on the Corn Ferry Tour, like he's dominating, but he's not dominating by winning. He's dominating by being consistent. So no, listen, if Will Zalatoris wins, that is very impressive, and I deserve to lose this week. That's not what I'm worried. I'm more worried about getting these mid-range plays right than him beating me.
Thomas Dietrich coming in at 17% and Henrik Stenson coming in at 8%. I take it that's why you're playing Stenson, or the reason that he's just should be the class of the field?
A little of both, but certainly the ownership in an event like this where I think win equity is truly distributed all the way down, ownership becomes even more important. Like Stenson at 8% is really appealing. And if he was 25% and Will Z was 8%, I would probably get over on Zalatoris.
Yep. I think that's a great call. And it is ownership projections, especially in a week like this, are so vitally important. So if you're not an Osmo Plus member, certainly use that this week. And then hopefully you'll be able to profit off that and come join us on the other side next week. Just $8.95 for the week for our golf stuff. So with that, you get ownership projections, Ben and I's premium content, and of course, all of Alex's tools. So come on and join us on the other side. All right, last one in this 9K section. I know it's kind of a weird one, but Brandon Grace and Charlie Hoffman, two going to be lower owned guys, two guys that have maybe found a little bit of form recently. I know Grace missed the cut last week, but certainly we're coming on at the end of the season with their ball striking. Hoffman struggled a little bit last time out, but are you going to play either of these guys?
I'm going to play Hoffman. FanDuel and DraftKings price checks out. We talk about this often. He's erratic, but that's a good thing. Like he's exploded with the putter at Workday. He exploded with the irons recently. I believe it was Northern Trust. It's not all clicking at the same time, but he's showing flashes. And when you do that, you're not that far off in putting it together. Whereas some of these other guys, they're more consistent, but there's like, where does the upside come from if they're just doing the same thing week after week? So I'll take some dice rolls with Charlie Hoffman and just pray that we get it the same skill sets in the same week.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost kind of like they're similar. You're playing them for similar reasons. So I totally agree there. All right, let's get out of here. And we're going to go to the topic that you see on the top left, strokes gained putting. I have just one question, and then we're going to move on to our old friends or foes section. You're going to tell me of these four golfers, who is going to gain the most strokes putting this week? Because I believe the person that you tell me who it's going to be is going to win the tournament. So, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Emiliano Grillo, Luke List,
oh God,
Mateus Schwab, and Henrik Stenson.
What am I? I'm supposed to pick who's supposed to gain the most strokes out of those bozos? All right, it's not List, it's not great. I'll say Schwab, even though he's a terrible putter too. But
yeah, that's why I put him in there.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this is off base, but in Europe generally, because it's so windy, the greens are slower.
Yeah.
That's what we'll see here. This is not like putting on glass or anything like that. I do think that helps a guy like that. Whereas I don't know if there's anything like List he would be eliminated first. If we were doing it guillotine style, List would be out.
Give me the guillotine style.
He would be out. Then Grillo would be out. Then Stenson would be out, and then Schwab.
So Schwab is going to gain the most strokes putting. Does that mean he finishes the best out of those four?
No. Grillo, I still think all in all is ball striking. Those are all, it's no surprise, obviously, Jason, as you know, those guys are all incredible ball strikers because if they weren't, they would be off the tour. Like they have to lean on the ball striking because they can't putt. I think that Grillo's all around game, tee to green, still suits him. But all four of those guys I see merit to playing because you really are just banking on trying to get a hot putting round, and tee to green, you feel great about him.
Yep, for sure do. I'm going to go with Grillo. I think he gets it done. I think he wins with his strokes gained putting this week. So I just wanted to give you just maybe a little bit more boost of confidence there in playing your guy this week. All right, let's move on to our old friends or foes segment. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that Brian Stewart was part of my first win at the Zurich Classic, where I came like in second in the dogleg event back then. So he's an old friend of mine, as is Johnny Vegas when I had a nice hit at the Players Championship, and then friend of yours, Kyle Stanley. So 3 names, all old friends. Do they turn into foes this week?
No, I got Johnny Vegas is someone that I actually was trying to buy at like 1% recently, and he was all right. But now this is a pretty good spot. The problem is the ownership has crept up. I'm gonna pass it back to you about Kyle Stanley. So he's someone, he's certainly in my pool. He's lost strokes putting, and I believe it's 8 out of 9. The results haven't been there. Tee to green, he's been better though. Are you going to go to him? I mean, his name sticks out when you look at the low 8K range and even on FanDuel as well.
Yeah, I'm having a little difficult time when I'm in this area finding out who I want to go to. So I'm ending up just going down to like the Gordon, Keith Mitchell range because I feel like I have just as much upside with them as I do Stanley and say Patrick Rogers. Johnny Vegas has came out printed as one of the highest owned golfers in the slate. So that kind of concerned me because I know his off the tee game has been great, but nothing else has really been that good. So I thought I'd take, guys that have shown a little bit more form. If it was Vegas or Stanley or Stewart, I'd go Stewart. Then I'd go Stanley, then Vegas, I guess, in that order. I do have a little of each, but more of my ownership is allocated to Gordon and Mitchell, to be honest with you.
So I know we're jumping around a little bit, but I actually want to ask you about, because, you're certainly a Will Gordon guy. I'm certainly not. I assume you feel comfortable because he is someone, when I saw this field, if he was 9,200 here, I wouldn't say much about it. I probably wouldn't play him, but I wouldn't be like, what are we doing here? To see him at that price was pretty surprising given just the fact how weak this field is. We've seen him do it at Travelers. After that, he hasn't backed it up a ton, but I assume you feel pretty comfortable with him.
Yeah, at the Safeway, he was 8,300 in, which for all intents was a stronger field than this. I think we can both agree. I mean, I know speed was one of the highlighters of that, but still, it was a stronger field by ranking, by the OWGR, and by obviously on paper as well. So with that being said, if I played him then and liked him then, here's a course where he can really unleash his off the tee game, which he gains consistently way better than the field. I love that about him. So yeah, I know his irons haven't been great. They haven't been terrible, but they haven't been great. I know he's one of the best lag putters already. I mean, just in the couple tournaments I've watched him. So, yeah, I don't see him making many bogeys this week. I think I like him a lot. I bet him to win right away. He was 80-1. He's drifted down to drifting is probably not the right word. He's gone down to 66-1 now. So I still like it in the betting side. And then, of course, at 7,600, I know he's going to be chalky, but sometimes you got to eat the chalk here. So yeah, I'm playing him.
I'm gonna play him, so we're gonna find out. But yeah,
we're gonna find out. We're both either going down the Will Gordon train together, or we're gonna ride him high. I don't know which one it'll be, but again, seeing Keith Mitchell here come in second place when he was kind of on the top of his game leads me to believe that if you have a strong off the tee game and you get a hot putter, you've got a chance to contend at Corales, and I think that Gordon certainly has both of those.
I mean, that is the formula. Listen, if you're trying to build, like, you want guys that are gonna mash it off the tee and make putters. That is the Cameron Champ. I don't know why Wyndham Clark isn't here. He would just win. There's no doubt in my mind. Like, there's certain golfers that do both of those things well. It's just, it's a tough little tournament just because there's so many moving parts, and it's coming off a U.S. Open. Like, I actually almost want my guys to have not played last week.
Or missed the cut. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, even Zalatori said in his interview, he was like, yeah, I'm a little mentally drained. I'm going to have to make sure I find the energy to get up again because it took a lot out of me. Quick thing about Gordon and lineup making. If we believe that it takes a strong off the tee game and a hot putter, would you correlate your lineups by going like, say, Gordon, Mitchell in that round, guys that you know, even Vegas for that matter, Gordon, Mitchell, Vegas, and now you can really go wherever you want with the lineup from there.
There's no doubt that something like that can be effective. We talk about correlating skill sets within a lineup. I'm not as high on Keith Mitchell as I am the other two. Just a personal thing. I don't think his game really is at the peak of its powers, and Vegas has shown enough. I feel good about Will Gordon. Chris Baker, Chris Kirks, Seamus are there. Like those.
Oh yeah, we're about to get into them. Oh yeah.
There's some names, and I think that what we're saying is it's pretty. So like, just to recap a little, I've made it clear I really don't like Zalatoris. If I get that right, and most likely I will because I doubt he's going to win, even if he's not a favorite to win. We all know that.
Yep.
Well, that's one guy. If the top doesn't win, it is wide open. Like, these are possible winners of the tournament. We're not just talking about cup makers.
I mean, Grant McDowell, who was in zero form coming into this last year, ended up winning it. So speaking of Grant McDowell, let's head on to our Make the Cut segment. It's a fun one where we go a little bit more rapid fire. If you guys have any questions, if you think they're going to win, or you want to know if they're going to make the cut, this is the section to ask. Either ask it in our YouTube chat. That's probably the easiest way. You can ask it through our Slack channel too, if that's how you.
And hit the like button before you ask, though. We pump up a like, then you can ask about a made-up player that I don't know about.
Yeah. Oh, that's the most fun part, especially in this field. We got like Saram Helfa. Yeah, it's a no play. But anyways, yeah, it's a good day. Let's start off with two previous tournament champions, Graham McDowell, Bryce Garnett. Do either of them see the weekend? Neither are playing that great right now.
No, both of them. It's not going to be a good week for former winners here. I don't like either of them. I actually think they both get clipped.
Okay. Tending to lean on your side, 79 and 7,800 too. Just I took out, the salary, just went right down to our next guys. James Hahn has been playing pretty well. He's playing on a major medical. Is he continuing?
Okay, James Hahn possibly was going to be my hot take.
Okay.
This is a guy that, when you talk about someone who could come out of nowhere and win a tournament, James Hahn has done that over the years. Like, he misses a lot of cuts and then he pops. He came in 13th at Genesis, 3 missed cuts after that, came in 9th at Safeway, gained across the board, mostly with the putter. So cut I worry about, obviously, because he's very erratic, but he has some serious upside and he is in my player pool.
He's one of those guys, and I've got another one, a young kid coming up that I have this kind of same feeling on. If he gets to the weekend, he's real dangerous to make a run. Even if he just slides through, he's dangerous to put up a ton of points in a hurry, and that's all we care about. Even if he finishes mid-30s, something like that, if he makes a run on the weekend, he's going to have a lot of points. Keith Mitchell, we said you're not man, but does he find the weekend?
I mean, like I said, I don't think I'm going to get there. I do think he can find the weekend.
I do too.
He's just not doing enough right now with the putter. He has the off the tee game, but even that is not nearly as strong as it was. So I'm there, but I'm not there.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I didn't end up having to go here that much just because of how it broke down. I mean, we don't have strokes gain stats on him for the last 4 or 5 weeks. He didn't play at Safeway for whatever the reason. Obviously, he's good off the tee. He's gained 4 straight there, but nothing else has really been good at all. Next guy I have on my list, Rob Oppenheim. He seems a little bit overpriced. I know, it's a weak field and all, but Rob Oppenheim, Seamus Power, both at 7,500, 7,600. What do you make of these guys?
Yeah, Oppenheim's getting a little buzz out there. I don't really see it. For me, that's not the ideal fit. He's not strong off the tee. He's more of an iron and putter, which, again, can you make that work? Sure, but I didn't get there with him. I have a little Seamus just because it's Seamus, and his game is very hard to translate. He does it a lot of different ways. Crafty around the green, though. Yeah,
and he's got that, he had it's not too much of a corollary course, but a little bit out there at the Olympics, came in 4th there. So a little Seashore Pass Palom, I believe, out in Brazil. I have to go look. It might be Bermuda, but Bermuda and Seashore Pass Palom. Seashore Pass Palom is just like a nicer Bermuda, basically. It's the way I can describe it to people that don't really care about grass types. It's different, but to me, it's a nicer. When I played on it, I'm just like, it's kind of like Bermuda, but nicer to hit out of. Anyways, moving on. As I go down the list, the next guy I had, Chris Kirk. He's getting a little bit of buzz around there. I think it's a great tournament for him. I know our buddy Jeff Ulrich here at the Fantasy Grind, our co-host here at Osmo, he likes him a lot this week. Are you joining his train?
He's fine. I mean, this is a guy that it's been a weird year for him. He won on the Corn Ferry Tour. He took a drop and won. Then he's come back, and now he's starting to make cuts, but there's no upside. He's made 5 of his last 6 cuts, no top 20s, though. So I do think he makes the weekend, but I'm not sure how high that ceiling is at this point.
Yeah, the points are okay. He's making birdies, but we need 75 points out of him. He's come close to that a couple of times, so I don't mind him. I think he's in play, and I think he does make the weekend. The chalky surprise of the week, maybe not too much of a surprise because he was a little chalky last time he played. Chris Baker missed the cut on the number at the Safeway, 7,500. He's kind of turning into the ball striking guy of the week. I'm going to fade. I'm just going to play Seamus Power or Chris Kirk or the next guy that I'm going to ask you. How about you?
Yeah, listen, I don't love the ownership, and I'm not sure I'll even get leverage at this point. I do have exposure. He's probably overowned, but his tee to green stats are very impressive. He had a string of made cuts. He got clipped at Safeway, but he was still positive with the ball striking.
So you think he makes the weekend here?
Yeah, he'll get through. Better.
Right. Next guy I like more than him. I think he's playing better, and I think he has more pedigree, at least certainly did when he first came out of college. It's Doug Gibbon. The guy was non-existent for, don't get me wrong, I played this guy through the year that he was garbage last year. Now we're on 3 straight starts, though, where we gained over a stroke, even a stroke and a quarter, tee to green. The putter has not really followed, but the last time it did show up at Safeway, he gained about a stroke over the 4 days. Doug Gibbon, is he in play for you this week?
Yeah, he's a key piece for me. This is a guy that showed flashes, and this is the path. This is why in golf you can't, I don't want to say panic, but like these guys, not many come out and just go Morikawa style. Like most of them, they show a flash, then they miss a bunch of cuts, then they show and they start to get it together. He seems like he's finding it. He's had two out of the last 3 really good showings. He missed a cut in the middle, but the ball striking was still fantastic. He just couldn't putt.
Good putt, yeah, lost like at the Wyndham you're talking?
Yeah, at the Wyndham. So I'm actually pretty damn high on him. I think he's a really solid play on both sides.
If you check out my betting video that I do each and every week here, he was one of my 3 each ways for the week. I think he's in a great spot here. I think this is a great tournament for him to kind of continue that ascension and maintain a job, because he's going to have to fight for it come the end of the year here. And if COVID didn't happen, he was trending towards back to Korn Ferry Tour. So kind of a really good restart for him, to be honest, Ben. I mean, it probably benefited him more than most people because he really wasn't trending in the right direction.
No doubt, and sometimes that's all it takes. Like we see that happen, and this is a tournament where I truly do think pedigree matters more than usual. Like if some of these guys like Doug Gim, some others with big time amateur status, I'm more interested than I normally am.
So at the workday, this guy played pretty well, gained 2.3 strokes ball striking, gained 2.4 strokes total. But since then, 4 straight starts where he's lost strokes against the field. But 2 really good starts here at Corales. It might have been one of the years, I think, was the Korn Ferry event. Korn Ferry first 2 years, obviously, PGA Tour last 2. It's Sam Ryder. The guy's been around, flashed the pan a little bit early in the restart, as I mentioned. Does he make the weekend or your player pool?
So I'm glad that Sam Burns has now gotten pretty good, because now I know that these are 2 different people. I had a big problem for a while when they were both stuck. I couldn't know who was Sam Burns and who was Sam Ryder. Sam Ryder is the one that I don't play. I'm going to stick to that. He's not playing well. Now we just have the Ryan Blom, Ryan Brem situation, but
one's a platter and one's an absolute bomber.
Mega bomber. Like, yeah, it's no Sam Ryder for me though.
Yeah, I have a little, not gonna lie, in my $5 the Drive the Green contest. I think he's not a bad play. I think he could be a pivot off of some chalk in that area. Even though there's not really. See, that's the thing about this tournament. In tournaments like this, it kind of thins out in terms of ownership down here. So you can kind of pick and choose. A couple more guys: Matthew Neesmith, Kevin Chappell, CT Pan, Bo Hostler actually too. So 4 guys there. Take it or leave it with any of them.
CT Pan. He's got an OHL comp. Even though he doesn't hit it long, he actually kind of excels on these type of courses. I don't mind him of those flyers. And you're right. I think when you get to this range, I'm going to throw, Chad was just talking about Peter Uihlein. I think he's another one in there.
Yep.
You're really trying to choose best available. I would not play the ownership game in the low 7s. I think that it's too flat.
Yep.
So you're really just looking for who do you think will play the best. Don't really factor in ownership for me.
All right, let's talk about a guy that maybe, in my opinion, is probably going to be the highest owned in this low 7K section. He gained strokes ball striking last week, gained about 1.5. Missed on the number after an even par 70 on Thursday. He's a guy that when they printed salaries and printed Mateus Schwab at 8,800 and printed Kurt Kitayama at 7,100, I was like, what? They're in my opinion, they're similar type players in their prospecting. So for me, I have very little Schwab as much as I like him as a golfer because I can't get around paying 8,800 for Schwab when there's Kitayama at 7,100.
He's a tough one for me to gauge. I mean, in Europe, he had a really good stretch. He came over here. He's been middling.
I don't know, he got owned at the Rocket Morning. It's really bad.
Yeah, there's been some spots for him that haven't panned out, but he's made some cuts, and I thought it was a pretty good step up coming over from Europe. I just don't know if I'm going to have room for him. It's a fine line, and we talk about this often. You don't want to thin yourself where you're just getting raked. Like you can't have 30 flyers at 5% because you're not even getting leverage on a lot of these guys. So for me, he would have been in there, but I actually went more to Uline and a couple of other guys. Your boy Batia took a couple shares.
Yeah, we'll talk about him next.
And then I got a couple other guys that I'll drop in a second.
Let's talk about Major Medical real quick. Kevin Chappell, he's flashed a pan a little bit. Is he going to ever get back to the form that he was at, which is Ryder Cup form? Or President's Cup form? Crazy.
It's funny you said that because right before the show, I was looking and it was just like, wow, this guy used to be, serious business. He would have been the overwhelming favorite in this field.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it, and I really hope this is not the case. I really worry that his injury, which was a serious one, may have derailed him because he does not look the same, and he hasn't. I hope he gets back because he was one of my favorite players. Don't really see it right now, though.
Good personality, but the only place that he's gained more than a stroke on average per round has been his putting, and that was at the Travelers. It just hasn't been good enough to roster at this price.
No.
All right, let's talk about Batia for a second here. The 18, 19-year-old maybe now, maybe he is 19, broke through, made his first cut at the Safeway, and not only did he make his first cut, but he found himself into the top 10 too, getting him into this week. So my thing with him is if he gets to the weekend, he's dangerous. He's dangerous to put up a lot of points. We know that he's super aggressive. Around the green and on the green, he's streaky, but he considers himself elite. His self-belief is definitely one of the greatest on tour. I don't know that I'm ready to fully say, okay, he's going to win this tournament, but I actually think he can earn himself another start here this week.
This is what we're going to see with guys like this. The talent is there. Can they harness it for 72 holes? Can they harness it for 36 holes to get his additional 36? That's really the question. I have a feeling what you're going to see with guys like Batia is a low made cut percentage, but a high top 10, top 20 percentage when they make the cut. Like if they get through, they can do damage, but they're very dangerous. And that's really what it is. I don't see, he's got to be considered for large field tournaments, but consistency wise, it's not there yet.
It's not, and you're gonna have to ride it out.
Exactly.
I bring it up Norman Jong a lot. He's one of those guys that was supposed to be out of college like a super, super good play. He was supposed to be a super good player. He won the Nicholas Award and everything, or the Hogan Award, one of those two, and did nothing. He never even made a cut. Here's the difference, though, between Norman Jong and, say, even Justin Su, who I'll talk about next. Norman Jong had a bunch of starts and couldn't even make a top 20 on the Korn Ferry Tour, let alone on the PGA Tour. Justin Su had a top 21 in his last outing at the Barracuda. Akshay Bhatia already has a top 10. So I guess what I want to say to you here is we've seen these guys do it already, so I think it's giving me more confidence in this field to play them because we've seen them already actually accomplish what we're looking for out of them this week. But I think we're definitely adding a layer of variability when we play these guys, right?
Oh, there's no question. Like you're not the kid's 18 or 19. Like he's not going to just start rattling off made cuts. He's going to have some really bad things. Then last week you saw why he's supposedly this good. There's flashes. Comes with the territory. You can either be too late. I tend to be too late, or you can be too early. And there were a lot of people who played him. He's, I think, 1 for 8 and made cuts. There's a lot of people who played him a handful of those times before he made that first cut. So it cuts both ways. I don't know. I think, again, large field tournaments makes a lot of sense. Smaller fields, it's hard to really rely on a guy that erratic.
All right, so I got another guy that I wrote up in one of my articles here that was just asked in chat, and I smile because I remember my mom called me up today, and she's like, hey, I got this guy. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's in my lineup. and I'm going to need you to help me with the phonetical on this. Is it Gilchich? What is it? Can you help me with it? I have no idea.
So this guy, and it's one of the many reasons you should get behind the paywall. Me and Jason have a lot of premium stuff up. My premium article, he is in it actually, and he's really striking it well. He's another Canadian. I actually think that if you want to be aggressive up top, he is one of the few guys in the mid sixes and the lower ranges on FanDuel that you can look to. So I have some interest there. 3 straight made cuts, including a 14th at Safeway.
Seems to be trending in the right direction. I honestly don't know much about this guy. It is Gilchich? Is that how it we'd have no idea. If the chat can give me a phonetical on this, I would love that. Glickich?
No, Carl knows things like that.
Is it really, Carl? Okay, I'll go with it, Carl. I appreciate it. I really had no idea how to pronounce it, but I'm looking at the stats at 6,500. There aren't many guys that I want to play below him. There's no doubt about that. And I guess above him, again, maybe there's a couple guys I'll ask you about. One, Aaron Badley. He's kind of been hanging around that neutral strokes gained total mark. We know he's a great putter and chipper. Aaron Badley make the playable this week for you?
No, he's so crafty around the greens, and I have seen some things that his name has popped up. I didn't need that many guys here. I did take some Lahiri, as people know. He putted well, and I don't mind this course. But I want to give a shout out to Colin Roberts in our chat. I do think that a mega mind genius potential play is Martin Laird, who has some coastal splits. He can't putt, but I like where his game really is at. He's another guy that I looked at. So Martin Laird is an extreme flyer. I don't hate it.
So have you looked into where the heck he's been?
Martin Laird?
Yeah, because he only played 2 weeks ago at the Safeway. Unless he played at the Barracuda, which, of course, I don't have strokes gained. I'm just looking at the strokes gained info. I see that he gained, 2.5 strokes ball striking in his first start out, I guess, and lost 2.5 or 5, actually, around short game. I'm interested. I just don't know where the guy's been.
He played in something called the Lincoln Land the week before the Safeway. Corn Ferry.
Yeah.
So he's got some reps in. The thing I don't worry about with him is I've seen him enough to know what his game is. Like, it's not a newcomer. It's Martin Laird. He strikes it well. He can't putt. I don't hate it, though, as a cheapie. I prefer Glickich.
Glickich. I like that.
Glickich. I like the way that sounds. I'm
Me too.
Guy.
I'm even more in now just knowing how to pronounce it.
Glickich. Let's go.
All right, let's do a few more down here. If I missed any from chat, let me know. Alex Smalley, there's one. Smalley is kind of in the same boat as Justin Suit. He's probably maybe a little bit of a made-up player to you. But on the local IQ series, which again, it's, maybe the third ring down, right? Let's call it below the Corn Ferry Tour. Is it four straight top 10s or something very close to it? 4 of the last 5 in the top 10. I mean, we've seen Will Zalatoris make 11 straight top 20s on the Corn Ferry, and then all of a sudden top 6 against the best field in golf. So we have to give some credit where credit is due, right? I mean, I don't know that you know anything about this guy other than I'm telling you he played on the IQ Series Tour.
I don't know what that is. So
yeah, it's like the Latin America Tour, man.
Speaking of that, where's Ryan Ruffles? What happened to him?
He's trying to make it to the Corn Ferry. He actually had a chance to, but again, with the shortened season, I don't know. If you want stock in Ryan Ruffles, just go buy stock in his sister, who's an amateur that just competed in a major. So yeah, just buy the stock in the sister. I think it's probably a better bet at this point.
I didn't know that either, but yeah, I don't play guys in the local IQ series just yet. Good for I forgot his name already, but no, he's not in my pool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the local IQ series, if you didn't know what it is, it's the Mackenzie Tour, the Latin America Tour, and the Asian Tour. Basically, the PGA Tour was like, hey, we're going to put on these series of events for guys like you. Are you guys interested? And they got back a bunch of interest, so that's what it is. And it was an actual OWGR event, so that's how we know what the results were because OWGR followed it. So okay, a couple more guys that I want to ask you. Let's see, Bill Haas. He's priced right around Glickich. I feel like this is a cut that he should make, but I don't know where his game is.
Yeah, I mean, I love Bill Haas. He just can't, he's not a good ball striker, but his putter is also now broken, and that's clearly not a good combo. I would love to chase him, but I can't. I don't think that is the answer. And yes, Chad, I said this multiple times this week. Aaron Wise, if he was here, would be good. This is a perfect track for him. Somehow he's not here. I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, it would be a great course for him. I feel like he's never missed a fairway, and his approach game has been pretty good. But okay, so let's go on. Let's ask about Grayson Murray was just asked about in the chat.
Ooh.
He said to bet his entire house on the Denver Nuggets last night. I guess it ended up panning out for him. I think the Nuggets ended up winning. So maybe Grayson Murray's playing with a little bit of a healthier checkbook this week, and he still has his house. Does he make this cut? I mean, actually, I think he's made a couple of cuts before here.
Yeah, I mean, Grayson is a true wild card. I think we all know that for various reasons, but he's got the game and he's got the scoring ability. And a couple years ago, he would be towards the top of this price. I know it's easy to say that about a lot of guys, but he has done it. He's a winner on tour. I don't think it's necessary to really hone in on him small field, single entry, 3 max. You want to put him in your drive the green portfolio? I think that's more than reasonable.
Yeah, I see Bo Hostler being mentioned in the chat, and I think maybe we forgot to just give our I think I saw you mention in our Slack chat a little earlier that the off the tee game has been really surprisingly good. We know he's a good putter. As we've talked about on the show, it's a good recipe for success here. Should he make the weekend and should he compete maybe this week?
His iron, he hasn't gained with the iron since January, so it's as simple as that. Got to be better. He's a world-class putter. Got to gain a little with the irons.
Yeah, so on Grayson Murray, he did gain 1.76 strokes ball striking in his 2 rounds at the Safeway before missing the cut. On the number, I think it was a back 9 tank. Last major medical that we'll have before we go into our hot takes and jump on out of here. Another Canadian that is been around. He's a good personality. He, I believe, might be the worst chipper or around the green player in the history of the PGA Tour, or one of. He was chipping one-handed last time out. It is Graham Dillette. His off the tee looked okay. Is he going to make the weekend here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a name down there. I really didn't need to dip that low because I didn't like Zalatoris. So for me, it wasn't really necessary. He could get through. I'm not too worried about not having any, though.
Former winner here in 2016 on the Corn Ferry Tour, Dominic Bazzelli. Kind of fits the profile of the other winners, though, right? Graham McDowell, Bryce Garnett, Dominic Bazzelli, kind of all hit it 285 down the middle, hit it to the middle of the green, make some putts, kind of type of deal. Does he make the cut at 6,200 this week? I know we're really diving. I love it, though.
I do like what you said. He's someone who can get crazy hot with the putter. He does have the game. I'm not sure it's necessary to go that low. So for me, I don't have a strong take on him. He's going to be minuscule owned, as our ownership projections talk about. These are real flyers.
Real flyers at this point now.
I don't know about that, though. The Boz. I like the Boz, though. I play him. He's a good I'll say this. You want to get crazy in showdown? That's the type of guy to look to.
That's a good call there. How about Kirk Happy Barn Rat? I saw a tweet earlier about he loves slow greens, and we know he loves slow greens playing on the Euro Tour. Do you have any Happy Barn Rat?
No, but that one's closer than it should be for a guy who's missed a string of cuts.
How is he in this field? Oh, he must be playing out of the 150 to 200 category.
Yeah, that's probably because his game is in bad shape.
It's brutal. It's kind of falling off of
that. Though. So I see that. I tried to keep it pretty lean and at least take more than a few stances on guys, maybe with a little just better form at this point.
Talent and personality. I mean, I love the guy. He was infectious.
Yeah.
You know, there's a picture on Twitter that pops up every now and again of him just blowing on his vape, and it's what I embody Kirk Happy Barn Rat to be, in the personality that we have. He's like the modern day John Daly. He loves his watches, his sports cars. It's great. I hope he makes his cut so we can buy another one. Okay, another couple here. Jonathan Bird has some good success. I know. Listen, these names are crazy, but you're gonna play him this week. And DJ Tryon, same price.
DJ Tryon comes out of nowhere. He did it at Safeway. It was mostly with the short game, though. So I see a little merit there. Jonathan Bird, yeah, he seems to take advantage of the starts that he gets.
Yep.
But I also think in terms of, I'm not saying he's going to be popular, but he's not going to be nearly as low owned as some of these other guys. So I don't have a take for him, really. He just kind of does what he does. I think you can find the weekend. I don't think he gives you much more, though.
Yeah, I agree. We were just asked if Patrick Rogers was just mentioned on the show, and we did. I think we both basically said that we'd rather have Kyle Stanley. Both played well at the Barracuda, which I'm using as a little bit of a corollary in terms of strength of the field. So, that is a good one. I forgot to bring up JJ Spawn to you.
Well,
his name pop up a little bit and been asked a couple of times to me today. Are you playing JJ Spawn?
It's a perfect way to round out this show.
It really is.
For hot takes, JJ Spawn is my hot take.
Yes, what a lead in.
What a lead in.
That was not planned.
No, it wasn't. No, it was not. I was wondering if we were going to get to him. Gaining across the board, he showed a lot at Safeway. This is a guy that's battled some injuries. I'm not saying it's just off to the races now, but he has the talent to compete, and he's flat 7. So I'm going to call for JJ Spawn top 10 this week and think he can really get in the mix.
So I had a guy who I chat with quite a bit from out from Australia. Actually, he lives in Australia, and he was telling me about Spawn, and he was looking at some comp courses, and he said a couple of those comp courses that use the Seashore Pascal, I'm kind of using that as a corollary. OHL Mayakoba, he's got a top 5. RSM, he's got a top 5. So everything actually is kind of lining up here. It made me nervous to try and get behind JJ Spawn because a month and a half ago there was tweets about him turning into the next like Smalley Kaufman and just totally fading away. It hasn't been the case. He's obviously bounced back a couple of times recently. So I think I like Spawn. I like Spawn to make the weekend. So your hot take, JJ Spawn, is it a top 10? Is that what I'm guessing?
Yeah, I think he can get in the mix.
Okay. All right, I'm going to do maybe a little bit of a different one.
Good.
Not so much of a different one. I'm just going to use a group of players. So I'm going to use Doug Gibbon. Okay. I'm going to use is Will Gordon too good for this?
No, well, it depends. What are you saying, to win the tournament?
Yeah, I got a group of 4 that I think I'll get 2 in the top 10 and 1 in the top 5.
Okay,
so,
could have been.
Maybe not too hot takey. You know what? I'll take Gordon out and I'll use 3, and I'll say still 2 get in the top 10 and 1 get in the top 5. So Doug Gim, Justin Sue, and Akshay Bhatia.
Oh, yeah, that's very hot.
2 of the top 10, 1 of the top 5. That's what I'm going with this week. I really think it's time for Justin Sue to own up to a little bit of his potential that everyone said he had coming out. There's no better time to do it right now. In a full field event, he's going to get a lot of points if he does it. So I got Sue, Bhatia, and Gim all getting in the top 10 this week.
Good. If you want to see, like I said, you want to see a tough scene, go watch the press conference when Justin Sue, Hovland, Wolf, and Morikawa all turned pro, and they were talking about the big 4. And unfortunately, one of those 4 is trailing. Let's go Justin Sue. I like him. I'm rooting for him. So this would be a great week for him to get in the mix because everyone else seems to be doing all right.
All right, so who wins? Are we both going with Grillo? Because that is a great omen if that's the case. I'm going with Grillo to win this week.
I'd love to see that wins. Honestly, this is not breaking any news. I think Sam Burns is the best player here, and I think he does break through.
Burns, Grillo, start your lineups with them, Ben, and I think they're going to win. We have got, speaking of the RSM, Sanderson Farms next week in Mississippi. Then I believe we go out to the Sea Island, Georgia, the RSM Classic there. Then it's going to lead up to the Masters, though, Ben, in just about a month and a half. So got some great golf.
We got great golf. We got great content behind the paywall. Chat, you guys know the drill. We really do appreciate you watching.
Yeah, awesome time tonight, guys. Thanks,
any questions, hit us up in Slack. Hit us up on Twitter. Jordan Klein behind the glass, as we always appreciate. Hit that like button on your way out, and we will see you guys next week for Sanderson Farms. Good luck, everyone.